You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Hello and welcome to day 2 of the ETS Invitational. I'm LightsOutAce, joined by the wonderful LocoPojo, and we are down to just 8 players remaining here. Yesterday we fought the 32-man field double elimination down to just 8 players. So now we're down to the top 8. And so today all games are going to be streamed. All matches are going to be best of 5, sideboarding after game 2. You can find the full rules over at aReNGeeternal.com/ETS/rules. And let's look at what these players are playing for over here.
Yeah, we've got two great matchups or two great decks for you today. Docta on TPJ mid-range, a sort of mix between the mid-rangey style of the Cambrai decks and the Elysian False Prince Cerso delightfulness. There's a pretty solid mix of units in here, along with some like cool Aegis units like Copperhall Elite, other things going on there. And on the other side, we have Tiger HC on Xenon Killers.
Yeah. So that's going to be the first match that we stream. And the loser of that will, since we're in the losers bracket, be in 7th place, getting $10, 3 series points. Then 5th and 6th will get $15 and 4 series points. And these series points are used for qualifying for the World Championship at the end of the year, mainly. 4th place is $20, 3rd place $40, 2nd place $60, and 1st place, in addition to $80, they get the Champion Discord badge, highly sought after in some circles, and a spoiler card for set 2 Omens of the Past. So that's a big prize for whoever manages to win this tournament.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal, and we're looking forward to seeing who gets it, and as well as seeing that spoiler card, of course.
That's actually what I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, so today's matchup should be a bit of a knockdown drag-out. As said, it's best of 5. We will be sideboarding out after game 2, and we will be seeing exactly how these two players measure up against each other. What are your thoughts on that, Lena?
Well, it's there's a lot of recursion to the board going on here. Dawnwalkers on both sides. A lot of ways to buff up units. So like Tiger has Dark Returns. He has Predator's Instincts. Whereas Docta has stuff like Stand Together to buff the team, give Aegis, Xenon Obelisk. So before we actually get into this, let's look at all of our top 8 players to see who we've got today.
Yeah, sure.
Angry Chicken, Big Cambrai, won the last Invitational with that deck. He's running a little bit different version today. He's cut out the Martial Ironthorns and the Temple Scribes, and instead of playing Awakened Student, Reality Warden, and Healer's Cloak in the main deck. And he's joined up in the winner's bracket by Alunex on Felon Control, and then Tabo and Child Roland, both on Burn Queen. Not many players brought Burn Queen this weekend, but the few that did have been doing very well.
Yeah, in addition, we also have Docta on the Elysian mid-range with the Justice Splash. We have Tiger on Xenon Killers, and Bradykin on Voda Combo. Sir Rhino brought his Cambrai aggro mid-range deck, the deck that he won one of the previous tournaments with. And we're going to see how that measures up against some of the more standard archetypes. I think it's been doing some pretty well so far.
Yeah, we've got a nice wide field here, like 7 different decks, really. Like, sure, there are 3 decks that are in the Cambrai factions, but all 3 have very different game plans and play out very differently. So there should be a lot of nice variety and a lot of interesting matchups.
Definitely. There's a huge difference between the Cambrai aggro style of Sir Rhino's decks and the big Cambrai style of Angry Chicken, as well as in some ways that more Voda Combo style. But of course, we have the Elysian mid-range deck is the other Cambrai deck, and it's actually not running that many cards that you would associate with big Cambrai. I think these are very different lists.
Yeah, let's see. Docta's list only has like 10 Justice cards, right? He has Stand Together, Copperhall Elite, in the main deck, and then he sideboards some Vanquishes. Or no, not even Vanquishes.
Yep, instead relying...
Desert Marshals.
Yeah, he's instead relying on the strength of cards like False Prince, which tend to do very well against more silence-heavy metas, especially big Cambrai decks, just because the silence is not really an interaction with those types of cards. So I think we are about ready to get into a game soon. But I think we will probably be seeing a lot of interesting interactions between these two decks. The Xenon Killers list does not have that many great answers to False Prince. It has 4 Vara's favors, but if you don't draw those, or if you are forced to use them too early, the False Princes can get out pretty early and really start to run away with the game.
Yeah, so let's jump right into that and see how this match between Tiger HC and Dr. goes.
Yeah. All right. So, in the opening hands of each player, Tiger HC has access to 2 Copper Conduits and Dawnwalkers. All of these Overwhelm units mean he'll be able to set up with Beast Color's Amulet to start, and that should be a pretty good setup for him early on.
Yeah, Overwhelm is very good with the Infiltrate, because even if your unit does die in combat, as long as his strength is higher than the blocker's health, you will still Infiltrate and get that Beast.
Yeah, it's especially useful on Dawnwalker, since Dawnwalker brings itself back after you get a 5-power or more unit. So if you Beast Color's Amulet or Dawnwalker, it will die, but it will bring itself back with the Beast Color's Amulet. Always a fun trick.
He didn't die for long. So it looks like Dr. does have the answer to that. He's got this Permafrost for the Dawnwalker. And Permafrost is a perfect answer, because Tiger, if he wants to continue using this Dawnwalker's recursion ability, is going to have to spend a removal spell on his own unit. And he only really has a few removal spells, and those are very critical for Doctor's large units like the Cersos, the Sandstorm Titans, and the False Princes.
Yeah, at some point, Doctor might end up sweeping the Dawnwalker, but he's not running Lightning Storms in the main or the sideboard. Crystallize is instead the only card that he's going to use that actually incidentally kills the Dawnwalkers.
Is sort of fishing for a power with this Temple Scribe, because otherwise he doesn't have a way to develop the rest of his hand. And see if he finds it here. It looks like he did not find it. So if he doesn't draw a power within the next turn or two, this pair of 5-strength units from Tiger is just going to run him over.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate, because when he spends all of his power like that trying to find power, it just declares open season for those Beast Colors Amulets. Tiger's just looking for opportunities to play those, and if he can get them on any Overwhelm unit, that's really going to strengthen his game.
Yeah, I guess if Doctor does find a 4th and 5th power within the next 2 turns, he will be able to stabilize the board, just because these Cersos will hold off anything that Tiger... another whiff and another Beast Color's Amulet coming down here. It looks like Tiger just has this game.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty hard to come back from this. He's going to need to hit basically power after power, and then even at that point, he's still taking 6 a turn from the Copper Conduits for the next couple of turns. It's really hard to lay off 3 of the different huge units at the same time.
Yep, so Doctor does have if he finds power here, this Copper Hall Elite, but looks like another whiff, and he just sees the writing on the wall.
Yep, so...
We do just move straight to game 2 with no sideboarding here.
Indeed, indeed. So, should be a quick route back into the second game. Doctor did have access to those friendly wisps early on. There's a weakness here to his deck where he doesn't have as many 4-drops that actually activate friendly wisps. He basically uses those Copper Hall Elites, and they are unfortunately 4 health or 4 attack units. So it can be a little tricky to get those friendly wisps to draw for you, unlike the Xenon Killers deck, which is just rife with interesting 5-drops and has a lot of different ways to get those draws.
Yeah, Friendly Wisp is super powerful when it's just like 2 power to draw to, but it does have some setup cost.
Yeah, we will hopefully be seeing them jump into a game very quickly here. What do you think about sideboards? What do you think they should end up sideboarding after game 2? Have Death Strikes, Steward of the Past, Xenon Obelisk, Predatory Carnosaur, Decay, Annihilate, Suffocate, and Sabotage in Tiger's sideboard. And on Doctor's side, we have Infinite Hourglass, Accelerated Evo, 3 Desert Marshals, 3 Decays, 2 Healer's Cloaks, 3 Rain of Frogs, a Steward, and a Crystallize.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this matchup, if one player doesn't stall on power, is likely to get into a board stall. So they're going to want to be looking for stuff like Crystallize and removal for large units, like from Tiger's side, the Death Strikes and the Annihilates. But we will see as we hop in game 2 here, and Doctor on the play and gets the first unit onto the board. So we'll see if he can actually hit his power drops this time.
Yeah, he's got access to that Temple Scribe. It's just a really solid card for thinning out your deck and getting you all set up with draws. Temple Scribe is just a surprisingly powerful card in any deck that manages to focus heavily on time. It adds so much in terms of board value and hand value. It's actually just a remarkably good cantrip.
Yeah, so Tiger kind of has the dream start here. A Friendly Wisp into Beast Caller's Amulet on it, triggering the Wisp and by getting a 5/5 here on turn 3. This is one of the best play patterns available to the Xenon Killers deck.
Yeah, it's always a very effective setup, and of course it does get Tiger a ton of draws. The main thing with the Xenon decks is that if they can get those Friendly Wisps off, they'll typically never run out of cards. It's just very, very hard because they have so many good mid-range units, and all of those require at least a distinct answer. It's fairly hard to get them with things like Harsh Rule, or basically you really need something like a Harsh Rule to clear out that type of board. And Taiga's just going to be building with a unit every turn off of this because the draws secure his power for the next couple of turns.
Yeah, I mean, he has a sort of awkward hand with the double Amber Monument. Like he has to Vara's Favor for a 4th power this turn, for a 5th power this turn in order to play a Sauropod next turn. But yeah, he looks very well suited going long, and he also has Dark Return in his deck. And Dark Return on a Twin Brood Sauropod draws you 2 6/5s. Like that's just so much value.
It's pretty great. There is a basic weakness here for Tiger, which is that he hasn't gotten Dawnwalkers out on the board, while Docta has actually played 2 of them. There aren't amazing amounts of silences in the Xenon deck, and that means that these Dawnwalkers are going to actually provide maybe even more card advantage than the Friendly Wisp, since they're going to consistently replay themselves, and basically just make it really hard for Taiga to attack in with anything.
Yeah, basically Tiger's removal for Dawnwalkers is to just play bigger units. Like a Sandstorm Titan turns off a Dawnwalker forever.
Yeah, see here he uses the Predator's Instinct on the Direwood Beast to clear a Dawnwalker, but all Docta has to do is play a unit on 5, and he'll get both of them back. He'll have plenty of blockers available. That's really going to be dependent on him drawing the necessary power, but it looks like he doesn't, so Taiga's Instinct may have paid off in terms of pushing aggression.
Yeah, so Docta does have to take this turn off to just play the Obelisk with only a puny 1/1 on board, but the Obelisk does mean that the Dawnwalker in his hand will trigger the other 2 Dawnwalkers in the void. His Dawnwalker's bringing back Dawnwalkers. Layers on layers here.
Yep, it's pretty relevant. It's also good to clear that Temple Scribe out, since the Temple Scribe was part of the blockade against Tiger previously, where he couldn't attack with the Direwood Beast without getting blocked by both the Dawnwalker and the Temple Scribe. Now, if the Dawnwalkers come back, he can clear one of them and potentially get through with the other.
Yeah, so Tiger might be looking to take a super aggressive line here. Like, Docta brings back all those Dawnwalkers, but the Dawnwalkers come back exhausted, so Tiger can just Death Strike the one that's able to block and then get in for 12 here, potentially putting Docta in range of, maybe Friendly Wisp beats or, Archerport Instigator triggers to finish him off.
Yeah, being at 10 is not great against mid-range lists, just because there's so many different ways to clear a few units and get through with the 2/5 damage beaters. So it forces the other player to play more defensively. It means that they can't leverage their advantages on board even when they have them. So there's a pretty distinct idea here that Tiger can push damage through and just be the offensive, be the aggressor, and maybe way out against Docta's insane advantage with these Dawnwalkers.
Looks like Tiger is gonna... Oh, no, he can play Instigator plus Death Strike. He's really, really thinking if he wants to waste this, quote-unquote, waste this Death Strike on the 5/2. Oh, wow, this is really interesting. So he opts to Predator's Instinct to preserve the larger units on board. I think if I was in his position, I would rather knock the opponent down to 7 with that Death Strike and then just have a couple turn clock in the air and look to trade units with the Argenport Instigator in play to shorten that clock even further.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he didn't use the Predator's Instinct on the Overwhelm unit. He would have gotten a 3 damage in that way and kept the 2-drop. I think that adds up to more damage in the long run and just makes it so that Overwhelm unit is a real threat.
Yeah, so I guess this is the reason why he did that. So Docta drops a Friendly Wisp, which is also a 2/2 in the air. It would have been able to block Tiger's Wisp, but then Tiger draws this Predatory Carnosaur, which could have cleared the flyer and put Docta on a 2-turn clock. Now the board is really gummed up and complicated, especially with all those Dawnwalkers. Like, if Tiger attacks and trades units, and then Doctor brings back all those Dawnwalkers, Tiger's in an awful position.
It's not looking amazing. This is one of those situations where you'd really fear a hunting Teriax if there were one in Docta's deck. We see the Predatory Carnosaur knock out the Dawnwalker. Unfortunately, Stand Together does prevent it from living through the exchange, but he's still got a 5/5 with Overwhelm here and another 5/5 on the board. If he swings in, he pushes almost enough damage to kill his opponent.
Yeah, but he's... Oh, man. So Doctor's going to survive this turn at a precarious, one or two health. But now if Doctor has... now if Doctor is able to survive the next turn, he's going to have these Aegis Dawnwalkers being brought back from the void.
Yep. He's right to block the Argentport Instigator. Doing a different block might have allowed him to keep another unit alive, but unfortunately, like, basically there's just no way to... Yeah, the Instigator just prevents him from getting through in a way that's pretty impossible. Like, basically that Instigator could have killed him, so now that it's gone, it's there's no way to have that lethal happen.
Also, huge top deck here from Doctor. If he had just played the Cerso, Tiger could have Death Striked it and gotten in with the Reinarch for lethal. But with the Carnosaur just killing the Reinarch straight up right here, I think that Tiger's going to lose if he doesn't draw... Oh, he has Dark Return. He can Dark Return Argentport Instigator, and then Death Strike the Carnosaur for the last point of damage here.
Yep, if he sees it, it's not an easy play to figure out. You definitely have to be aware of what you're doing. He could try and pick up like an Overwhelm unit or something like that. However, Argentport Instigator is the play if he's got it. Okay, he found
the board back from these Aegis Dawnwalkers. So he found the line to, thankfully for Tiger, to push through this last point of damage that he needed.
Yeah, Death Strike for the classiest lethal, and Instigator secures a game.
Yeah, so that puts Tiger up 2-0 heading into the post-sideboard games here.
Yeah, the Xenon deck does have a lot of strength against these more Combrei-focused archetypes, just because it tends to be a little bit more reliable in the early game at playing down its mid-range units. If Docta could be getting cards like False Prince or like some of his early threats out just on time, that would be really helpful. But the Dawnwalkers don't present as much of a threat for the Xenon deck just because they're so easy to push through, they're so easy to clear up. And I think the deck just has that weakness against Xenon. There's too many things that die to Vara's favor, to like really minor, just incidental damage. As a result, the Xenon deck can push through and get those consistent draws, and then it just continues to play well in the mid-range.
Yeah, so maybe Docta even opts to take a slightly more controlling tack, like he boards out the False Princes and brings in Crystallized Desert Marshal and hopes to just make a big board stall that he wins with Crystallize.
Desert Marshal can be a really strong threat, especially since it prevents your opponent from playing Beast Color's Amulet most of the time. It's not a thing that you want to get silenced, so when you have power open, when you have those awkward early turns, you can prevent your opponent from pressing his advantages and really just pushing through with those Beast Color's Amulets. Anything that gives the opponent pause is really good, but even the threat of the Desert Marshals might be enough.
Yeah, in response to that threat, Tiger might just take out his amulets entirely. Like, he has some good sideboard cards. Like, the Annihilate is like sort of iffy. It just hits Titan and little guys, but Death Strike is certainly exactly what you want against this TPJ mid-range deck.
Yeah, both players are working on sideboarding and finishing that up. It looks like 3 Desert Marshals are coming in on Docta's side, and we will see what ends up in Tiger's side of the match.
Yeah, all right, and here they are, jumping into Game 3.
Yeah, Tiger throws away a hand with only 1 blue, since it had Temple Scribe and Dawnwalker in it. He gets back a hand with a Temple Scribe and a Desert Marshal. There's no green in here, but that Temple Scribe might allow him to balance out and get to the cards that he actually wants.
Yeah, my rule of thumb when keeping hands with time-based decks is if you have 2 time and a Temple Scribe in your opening hand, that's a keep.
And it's typically pretty worth it just because there's that extra card that you get, and it's usually something along the lines of what you actually need for your hand. It can bite you occasionally, but it's usually the correct play.
Man, even Tiger's sideboard cards are all premium. He has a premium Decay in hand. Jeez, that's some dedication right there.
That or a lot of drafting. Yeah, we've got the Vara's Favor going on, and that's going to clear out the Temple Scribe if Taiga wants to throw it. He could save it for Dawnwalker, and indeed he elects to. He's going to play down the Copper Conduit first.
Yeah, I guess looking at Tiger's hand, he has a whole bunch of removal, so he wants to get down a threat first that removal is helping him push damage instead of just helping him tread water. And he's kind of rewarded here. Like, he gets to deploying another threat in this Argenport Instigator.
Yeah, Vara's into Argenport is not bad. Oftentimes you want to Argenport into Vara's, but I think either way, he's picking up the initiative of the Sand, which definitely prevents Docta from balancing out as easily as he wants to. And Argenport Instigator does present a pretty significant early threat.
Yeah, so I guess Docta could have Desert Marshaled one of these units and then double blocked to trade, but he opts to save that Desert Marshal for more threatening targets later.
Yeah, in some ways, this line of play is playing out very similar to the previous games. In some ways, it's way different. He's setting down a lot of 3 health units and being a lot more aggressive. Those units are going to be less useful later on when Docta starts playing down cards like Sandstorm Titan. Anything that has the 6 health, like that's going to be tricky for these smaller units to get through. So they don't provide as much late game advantage. But Taiga is still pushing damage, and Docta is still not really developing his board. He's got Xenon Obelisk, and that is about it at the moment.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised at Docta's line of play here. I think he didn't trade last turn because he wanted to like buff up his Marshal with this Obelisk or like get a better double block with a Tumble Scribe later. But then this turn, when he was able to play Obelisk, he just didn't play it, and then he also didn't Marshal. So he just skipped his turn for. I'm questioning why.
Yeah, Taiga chooses not to Vara's Favor here, which it is the last turn that his Vara's Favor is going to be useful before Obelisk shows up. I think that clearing the Temple Scribe would have probably gotten him extra points of damage. I'm rather surprised that the Temple Scribe did not chump block. But we do see that Docta is going to be able to play his Obelisk this turn, and that should help him out a little bit, if not a lot.
Yeah, so Docta draws a Crystallize, which he can use as like to buy himself a turn here, just to sort of a fog effect. But without any like large source of damage in play, like he would only be able to push like 3 to 6 damage with it. So
Taiga has a really...
yeah, he just opts to play the Obelisk and pass.
Yeah, Taiga can throw Decay here, but it's actually better to, I believe, Vara's first and then Decay the Obelisk after. I can't recall if that actually does kill the unit anymore. It might just be Withering Witch. Yeah, I think that it does have to just Decay or clear a unit in order to attack in.
Yeah, it just, I think that Docta has kind of used his power inefficiently here, in addition to never drawing a fatty, and he's just like so far behind on board now. With these Annihilates in hand, I don't see how Docta can ever stabilize here. Like even a Cerso, Tiger can just swarm around and kill him.
Yeah, Docta is leaving all of these attackers to swing in. He might use his Crystallize just to push 5 damage, which would be probably not awful. I mean, it's not like there's anything that Taiga's doing this turn to develop the board, and really Crystallize just does put a hiatus on attacks for at least 1 turn. It's a very powerful card in that respect. But Docta is going to have a really tough time finding anything to defend against the rest of this board. He needs Cerso, he needs something that can actually stand in front of these guys, and even after that happens, he might take enough incidental damage just to die.
Yeah, and Tiger even gets to Decay this Obelisk here, and well, like it does take up his turn, but he didn't have anything else he could have done. So
yeah, now sitting at 30, so looking pretty good in terms of health. There's no way that Docta can reverse this and just go in for aggro. Crystallize buys him some time, but I think Docta is going to be down 3-0 in just a moment here.
Yeah, this looks like it was a pretty easy-looking clean sweep. Like Tiger's deck just performed pretty optimally every game. He found the lines to push lethal, and Docta's deck just kind of didn't cooperate, was a little clunky. He skipped a couple of key development turns, and yeah, I mean, another Crystallize buys him 1 more turn, but what does that turn do for him?
Yeah, just gets a few attacks in. If there were harsh rules in his deck, then they would be useful here, but as it stands, buying time isn't really doing him a lot of favors, and Tiger is just continuing to build out the board and set up blockers. The
These
Xenon
sauropods, so good.
Yeah, that Xenon Killers deck really kind of arose out of a need to kill a big Combre meta that was really starting to take control over the last couple of seasons. And so, like, when it came about, it definitely balanced things out quite a bit. And we're seeing exactly that strength here as Taiga clears the entire board and swings in for, a good 20 damage.
Yeah. Just hit him with the deadly cows. Those sauropods moved their way to victory, and Tiger is moving to the top 6.
Yeah, looking good for him, and we'll look forward to seeing him in the next round. Well played from Docta. Unfortunately, his deck just didn't have very good counters to what Tiger was running, and we will see him next time, hopefully, at another Invitational, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely a strong performance by him. Relatively unknown player coming in. He didn't have any previous big invitational finishes, but like he did well in the ETS. He won the LCQ, right?
I'm
Qualified
not sure.
for the tournament, made it to top 8. So good showing from Docta, and yeah, hope to see him again in the future.
Yeah, hopefully very soon. All right, so that should do it for us for now, folks. We will be back with another round in just a bit. I'm going to show you some VODs first, but I hope you more up to come.